if you heard about monkeypox or Mpox and you're all freaking out, well, that's one thing. But what about people that kind of know that this is all just a play that we're watching unfolding in front of us? What are you actually going to be doing about it? What can you do to protect yourself, your loved ones, others from this oncoming madness? So today we've got Govinda, who is the director of the Ministry of Health, one of the most exciting things you've never heard about. Take in what he has to say, because there are some gold nuggets. So Govinda, how can people protect themselves from all this madness unfolding?
Sure. Well, it's good to be with you, Dirk, and greetings to everybody that might be listening in. There are all kinds of things going on right now in the world, all kinds of ways that people are getting ginned up into fear and all kinds of survival consciousness. Listen, we have power, and we just need to be moving and acting in our powers. With the IHR, which is the International Health Regulations, and the amendments that were agreed on June 1st, or an upcoming pandemic treaty, we have seen that globally there has been a push to use public health emergencies and use them as a grounds to suspend self-evident, inalienable human rights, private rights that we all have. And so, and what we've seen over the last 4 years with COVID and what happened during that time was an absolute disaster. No consequences for the overstepping. People lost their businesses, all kinds of misguided things that were done to people. So we've seen that in the past. What has happened now, and what we've actually done with the Ministry of Health prior to the ratification of the IHR amendments, was we put in place 3 notices of liability plus a fee schedule with all of the participants at the 77th World Health Assembly that took place from May 27th through June 1st in Switzerland, which was received by Tedros prior to the ratification of the amendments and all the rest of that, a fee schedule that protects our basic fundamental rights that we have here. Meaning, if there is an overstepping in the context of public health emergencies that violates our rights, that comes with a bill. And so that bill is important because what it does is it actually makes and forces the hands of these globalist agendas to ensure that they do not violate fundamental, self-evident human rights.
Right. Let's dive a little bit into that. People might not know you've been working at the UN as a senior advisor before, but right now, what I think is important is for people to understand there's been a tool put in place by the Ministry of Health, which essentially has been triggered by the ratification of all those amendments. And would you be able to say it like that?
Yes. So what has been put in place is conditional acceptance. What was given was the opportunity to cease and desist prior to them incurring liability, and they chose not to. What they chose to do was to go forward and push through, which essentially created the context for liability in the case of rights violations anywhere in the world. So what has happened now is
we're basically talking about a mechanism that as soon as you're stopped at the airport because you have 38-degree fever and somebody tells you that because of international health regulations, you cannot travel anymore. If somebody comes to your business and wants to close it down because it says because of international health regulations, members of the Ministry of Health do not have to face those consequences without a fee schedule attached to it.
There is a fee schedule attached to those actions against a member of the Ministry of Health based on the presentation of a verified claim. So if you have a verified claim of these things happening to you as a overflow of these actions being done through the WHO, through the IHR, through the World Health Assembly, through the UN, through these groups that are pushing these agendas, if you have that presentation, there is a fee that is attached to that is payable by those that are culpable in that action against you. Because in actuality, we all have rights and we have the ability to stand in those rights. And if those rights are violated, we now have recourse and redress for that.
So basically, as declared members of, let's say, a private endeavor, we should not be limited by any action that's coming out of the public sector. Would that be a way to describe it?
Well, okay, so let me use this example. An open door is an invitation, right? If I close the door, courtesy is to knock. If I lock the door and somebody busts through, that's called breaking and entering. And I'm in Texas right now. If you break and enter after dark, it may cost you your life. So there's different levels of escalation. But if you leave the door open and you are inviting everything to come in from the street, then that is an invitation. What we have done with the Ministry of Health is we've closed the door and we've actually put a lock on the door. And so what is happening is, if there are those that say, insist and persist on pushing forward with rights violations, what happens is they now incur the fee schedule that's associated with those rights violations, if that makes sense.
So let's calculate one as an example. So we have, I'm being, not let on the plane because I have 37.6 degrees fever, and I'm being detained by a group of people. What I do is I pull out my cell phone and I record the case, right? In order to say, this is the officer, this is the agency, this is the day, this is who I am, this is where we are. And I'm just documenting the entire process to verifiably say, on this day, I have been not let on the plane because of whatever regulation does prohibit me from doing that. And since I am a member of the Ministry of Health, I then get to create a verified claim. Is that the way you call it?
Yes. So a verified claim would be something that would be objectively verifiable. So if you were to look at it, if I were to look at it, if anybody were to look at it, they would be able to say, yes, indeed, that did happen on that day, at that time, in that place. Yes, it's a verified claim. Because again, too, with any bill, you have the ability to question the bill, and so that's part of due process. So there, in the ability to question the bill, you have to have a verified claim of this is what happened. So let's use the example of you traveling in your private capacity, attempting to go somewhere, and somebody is now stopping you. Well, the two triggers that just come up right off the bat: one is detainment, two is restricted travel, right? So each of those carries a $5 million price tag. So,
you're literally just saying that me being detained creates a case worth $5 million, or 10, you
10.
said, because it's two of those counts.
10. Yeah.
Where I am the plaintiff. So how does this work?
Yeah. So what is happening here is that, okay, let's use an example that people are familiar with. You're familiar with toll roads. And so you see the signs, and then there is a toll that is incurred if you stay on the road after a certain point. You have the chance to get off the road, but if you don't get off the road and you stay on the road, now you are incurring a charge. What has happened with the ratifications of the International Health Regulations Amendments in June 1st was the whole world went on the toll road with regards to the Ministry of Health and the members and the partners of the Ministry of Health. Now, what does that do? Well, what that does is there are charges now associated with whatever exits are triggered. The time that you get a trigger on a toll road is when you go off the exit. So at this point, the whole world has gone down a particular path. And if these triggers go off, and if they're connected to a WHO, an IHR, a pandemic treaty, now what ends up happening, if it's associated with a rights violation, even if it's under the guise of public health emergencies, in those contexts, if you are violating rights, now that also comes with a charge. So it's not going to stop necessarily what they're trying to do, but after the dust settles, there are bills to be settled, if that makes sense.
This doesn't just mean that you are, quote unquote, suing the WHO or somebody else at that level. We're not even suing anybody at this point. But what we are doing is any country and any organization in those countries that upholds those illegal and unlawful regulations against you as a member of the Ministry of Health ultimately incurs this redress. And they get it because as long as there is such a thing like a private and a public domain, as long as there is, a court that would say, yeah, this local airport TSA company did in fact prohibit you from traveling, you were not falling into their regulations, then what else are they going to do? Like, they have a verified claim is right in front of them. They have the fee schedule is right in front of them. The case is pretty clear, right? There's no discussion even. This happened, and it did happen, and you had previously interacted with these other entities, these organizations, and made clear that you don't want to be limited in your travel or any otherwise via their regulations, which seems like a fair thing to do. It's not even an attacking thing to do. This is one of the beautiful things that I love about this approach is we're not declaring war. We're just saying respect our rights to not be affected by this nonsense that's going on. We want to continue doing our life as we previously have. If you want to, go off to dystopia somewhere or wherever you want to go, that's cool with us, but we're not interested in it. We're doing our own thing. Thank you very much. And the more people that participate in it, the faster it goes, right?
So let me read you just a line from the contract that the WHO has. This is notice to agent is notice to principal. Notice to principal is notice to agent, applicable to all successors and assigns. So what does that mean? So that means that by the head of the WHO receiving the contract and receiving the notice of liability and him having that, and that liability flows up and down the chain. And so if somebody is a successor, if somebody else takes up his position, it doesn't stay with him. If he steps down and somebody else moves into that position, the successor takes this on. If somebody is an assign, if somebody is actioning this on behalf of them, on behalf of the WHO, they are now becoming part and parcel of the liability chain. So, for example, when all 56 governors and attorney generals have now received notice of action, and a copy of this that has now gone to them that they're receiving. Some have already received it as of last week on August 30th. Others are getting it this week because it's gone all over the continental United States and the U.S. territories. Now they have no plausible deniability. It's on them to go and check with the WHO. It's on them to verify the different pieces that are here. And it is on them to make a decision on a state's level of how they will relate to this, and do they choose to be part of the liability and the fee schedule by their overstep and their overreach and their violation of their oath of office, which is to uphold and defend the Constitution, to uphold and defend the rights of their people, or do they choose to be on the other side and actually partner and be part of the solutions?
This is pretty major news, everybody. So we need to find a way to participate in it, grow it, make it stronger, because this is one of the first times I see an actual thing which is capable of changing the trajectory on a major, major level, where it's basically us coming together and, taking back control. It's not about fighting. It's not about destruction or war or anything. It is just about, thank you, until here, we're taking over control again over these things that we're going to be doing. If you want to continue doing what you're doing, that's fine with us too. And I feel like right now, people probably need to learn a lot more about it. They need to check into it. They want to read probably some of the letters that you sent, and there's tons more information that we all need from you, Govinda, to tell us. Hopefully we can create some series about it or whatever. You'll walk people through it, that once they've connected to this, they realize there is now a real powerful thing that they can learn more about and be member of. That is, if they go to, where should they go?
Well, so for now, one of the simplest ways to connect is just go to detoxamerica.us. That's a very easy way to sign up. There's no cost there right now. It's just, but you can have on file for yourself that you are objectively a member of the ministry that you joined at a certain point.
Yeah.
Well, so that's one initial, very easy step.
And this is critical for everybody, guys. You can go to ministry.health as well as and find more about the Ministry of Health as such.
Well, yeah, and some of the sites are private and they're restricted access. Some of them are open and people have to join and connect. There are different areas and there are different projects and different programs that are all part of the ministry. But the simplest way is connect through detoxamerica.us. That's a very easy one to start there.
You just sign up. There's I've done it. The process takes literally a minute. And the important piece here is, when you're signed up and you are then hence protected from the Ministry of Health, anything that happens tomorrow or later today can already be your first verified claim where you can start actually taking advantage of this. There's
Well,
nothing to lose. Go do it.
yeah. So here's what you want to do: collect the information around the verified claim, because again, it needs to be something that's objectively verifiable. And we will be discussing more of how we will be processing these in time to come. But in the short term, just know that protections have been put in place, that these are now there, and we have a means and a mechanism for redress going forward, based on not having a repeat of 2020.
And if that's not fantastic news, then I don't know what is. So we just need to get this message out here. Please excuse us. We're not, online professionals. We're not influencers. We're just trying our best to get this message out here to you guys, and hopefully to find a way that it really hits home, because this is probably one of the most powerful things that we can do to take back our sovereignties. With that being said, much love to everybody. Thank you very, very much, Govinda, for this tremendous tool that you've given humanity. And let's make it known and use it to our best advantage. So if you'd like to know more about the Ministry of Health or the Paradise Syndicate and all these amazing projects that are currently happening all around the world that are really taking back control and moving the needle towards the best possible future for all, then please subscribe. Let us know your thoughts. Put it into the comments. Don't just sit there and keep scrolling. You just heard about a game-changing thing. Do something about it. Much love, and we'll see you in the next one.